pretrial evidentiary hearing in the potential trial of alleged assassin Tyler Robinson of Charlie Kirk. The defense team for Tyler Robinson is seeking to disqualify the Utah County Attorney's Office because the daughter of one of the prosecutors attended the event the day that Kirk was assassinated. That was Jeff Gray, the Utah County Attorney on your screen just moments ago, who was testifying about the potential disqualification of the entire prosecutorial team. The daughter of one of the prosecutors is going to testify next, and that portion will be partially closed testimony. Joining me now to discuss what we've been hearing is criminal defense attorney Kriti Sharma and Utah defense attorney Nathan Evershed. Thank you both for being with us here today. Nathan, I think I might start with you because Kriti and I are both sitting here on set in Dallas. We're listening to the judge come back on the ruling of whether or not the testimony and the examination of the daughter of what they're referring to as Prosecutor A would remain open or closed. And the judge seemed to say it will remain open. He rejected the request of the prosecution and the defense to make it closed. But then, after saying it would remain open, he said limited and partially, we'll keep the cameras out and we'll bring the witness in. Presumably that's taking place in the next couple of minutes, the testimony, the examination of the daughter of the prosecutor.
That's correct. And it's a really good indication that he is going to throw the doors open for the media in this case. In this case, you had the media that was stipulating to the closure of everything, and even the defense and prosecution. But the judge said, no, not so fast. We're going to close this for a portion, and we're going to remove identifying information, but then we're going to let the public back in, but no video, photographs, or audio of this. So it's a really good sign that the judge is wanting to keep all these proceedings as open as he can.
Okay, so you see it as an indication that throughout the entirety of this pretrial hearing and the, I would assume, trial, he's going to try to maximize transparency. And Kriti, you and I were talking about this earlier. You know, that is something that not just is required, I think, in the year 2026, but demanded of almost every party in this case as well. It requires maximum transparency.
Yes, I think it absolutely does. Charlie Kirk's family has been in the public eye for so long, and the shooting took place in such a public manner, and it affected the entire country, regardless of political leanings, regardless of personal preference. Everybody's lives have been changed, and this is a historical case. And I think the absolute right decision for the judge to make is to allow the case and all the proceedings to remain as public as possible.
And we understand in this case, it is to protect the privacy and potentially the security of the young woman they're referring to as the adult child.
Yes, and I can understand why he made a limited exception, because we don't know the relevance, if any, of testimony that this witness might be able to offer. And if there's no reason to cast this witness into a public eye, then let the judge make that decision. Okay,
this is a pretrial hearing, an evidentiary hearing. We're long before trial. In fact, Tyler Robinson has not yet even been arraigned in the murder of Charlie Kirk. But this is a bit, Nathan, I think, well described, accurately described, as a Hail Mary, or as others have referred to it today, as throwing sand into the gearwork of this potential trial. Kriti has said to me off camera during our conversations during this hearing, it's also throwing everything at the wall to see what will stick for a potential record on appeal. So what they're trying to say is the prosecutors have a conflict of interest. The entire office has a conflict of interest. They should not be prosecuting this case. They claim the conflict of interest is due to someone in the prosecutor's office having a daughter who was there that day that Charlie was assassinated. That child, adult child as it's being referred to, texted their parent in the prosecutor's office the following, as a reminder to everyone: someone got shot. I'm okay. Everyone is going inside. Charlie got shot. To which a member of the prosecutorial team said, oh my gosh. The child responded, people say he was shot in the neck and his head tilted or something. The prosecutor responded, what the heck? The child said, insane. He'd answered one question, was taking the next person. And that's according, by the way, to the Utah County Attorney's Office. Back to the Hail Mary, Nathan. I don't see how this creates, and I would imagine everyone else watching from a non-legal perspective wonders, how in the world does this create a conflict of interest for their ability to prosecute this trial? But the answer to that, I would ask you, is it not just Hail Marys, throw it against the wall, see what sticks, see if you can win something on appeal?
I would say yes, it's a Hail Mary, but also yes, it's a necessary thing that has to be evaluated. It is very wise for the prosecution office to bring this forward of their own free will and choice, to present this, to let them know that we have nothing to hide. We're presenting this to you. This could be perceived as an issue. So, and they understood that this is going to be litigated. On the defense side, they have to litigate this. They have to come to the bottom of it, figure out what's going to happen with the evidence and see what kind of evidence comes in. But I would agree, the state's argument here that this is not a conflict is overwhelming in the extreme. And I'd be stunned if the judge were to permit the disqualification of the entire office.
And thank you, Nathan. And really quickly, Kriti, the only way this becomes a conflict of interest is if the defense forces the hand of it being a conflict of interest. In other words, if the defense calls the adult child to the stand. But why would they? There were 3,000 people in the crowd that day that Charlie was killed.
Correct. The only reason feasibly that anyone can think of is they would call this adult child, as a witness strictly for the purpose of creating the conflict of interest. And I imagine that if they did try that at a trial, then the judge would have to have a hearing outside the presence of the jury to determine if this is even relevant for the jury to hear as part of their considerations.
All right, Kriti, Nathan, thank you both for being with us here today.